We're back now with 843 TV and Matt Krause here. He is the disaster recovery manager for the county and the public works, and he is giving us some very important information about what to do with hurricane season, how to be prepared that we talked about in our previous segment. Now, talk to us about what happens after the hurricane recovery-wise. What do people do?
Absolutely. So even before that storm strikes, we're thinking about recovery.
Sure.
We've got a very robust recovery plan. It's got 27 different recovery functions. Some of those are more long-term, but some of them happen immediately after the storm. So as soon as we get those roads cleared, county residents might see our debris assessment teams made up of the assessor's office and building codes. They're going out in what we call a preliminary damage assessment, and their goal basically is to photo document all of the damage. So they're looking at damaged homes, damaged businesses, and then we need all that data. So then we can go to the state emergency management folks who can then go to FEMA for us. And depending on our damage situation, see if we might qualify for that FEMA individual assistance disaster declaration.
So let's talk about FEMA then. Let's talk about exactly what does it mean? How does it work locally?
Sure, absolutely. So the only time we'd get FEMA assistance is when we get that presidential disaster declaration. And that's why we try and document so much. And for that piece, normally if a community is hit by a large-scale disaster, before FEMA will let you do that declaration, they're looking for about 20 homes, uninsured properties that have been completely destroyed. Now, of course, we didn't have that with Helene, but those folks in the upstate certainly did. Some of those counties had more than 50 homes destroyed. So what we did was we worked with the state, we worked with FEMA to say, hey, we also had damage. They came down, they viewed the damage themselves, and then we were able to go through that process and get that individual assistance declaration. We had about $3 million in federal aid for folks come into the community, spread between about 3,000 people, and it all depended on their individual scenario situation.
You mentioned Helene that happened last fall. It really hit the upstate, but affected us way more than anyone expected. Sure. And so we had a lot of debris that needed cleaned up, which we're going to talk about that. How does the county respond to that? Those situations?
Sure, absolutely. So the county is only going to do that curbside right-of-way debris pickup when we have storm damage that's so significant we activate our debris contractors. And those debris contracts, just to get the ball rolling, is around $2 million. So we always try and be good stewards of taxpayer money.
Sure, yeah.
And with Helene, while we didn't activate those debris contracts, we partnered with SCDOT to kind of hit those worst hit neighborhoods. And then also if folks were seniors or otherwise had difficulty trying to get their home debris to the convenience centers, we would send some teams out to try and assist. If they could get it to the road, the right of way, then we would take it from there.
You made a good point about the seniors, because Beaufort County's average population is on that higher end, and so a lot of people can't help themselves. So that's a real good thing for people to be aware of.
And I can add a point on that. So if we get significant damage where we get that disaster declaration and folks are really looking for help, we can look for those NGOs, those volunteer organizations that might be able to come in and offer help with the yard cleanup and that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, this is a conversation we need to be prepared for and hope we never have to put in place, but of course you never know. So how can people be proactive now? Let's talk about the hurricane guides. What are the county doing to get a good start?
Sure, absolutely. Well, we have our public information preparedness piece from our public information team. The state emergency management folks put out a hurricane guide every year. So if you go to their website, or if you'd like to get paper copies, you can go to the DMV offices, both in Beaufort and Bluffton. They're supposed to have paper copies of this hurricane guide.
Yeah, I always like the paper copy, by the way. Keep mine.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you'll find that's got some great tips as far as prepping and then what to do, how to follow those evacuation orders.
Yeah. What other tips would you give folks about, not to panic, pay attention, take it seriously, that kind of thing?
Sure, absolutely. Well, it's good to always be prepared for a power outage. Have some canned goods, some bottled water on hand, batteries for your flashlights, do those checks and that kind of thing. And then just pay attention to those official messages and try and watch out for those folks on Facebook and other places that might be spreading that misinformation, because some folks really do enjoy making other people panic. And our goal is just trying to educate the community and make sure everybody's informed so they can make the right decisions.
Yeah. Well, you have a very important role, so we're glad that you're here to help the rest of us in the county and sharing all of that very important information. And if you missed any of this, you can go to the website. I'm sure they've got a lot of information online.
And that website is scemd.org.
Okay, great. Matt, thanks for joining us. Thank you all for joining us, but stay right here. We'll be back with more 843 TV.